Good morning and welcome to the 8:15 Daily Operations Weather Brief. This morning at Wallops we are seeing overcast skies due to some mid-level clouds, light winds, and a slight risk of an afternoon shower once the sun has time to build a little bit of instability. And speaking of the sun, temperatures today are expected to gradually climb into the upper 60s with a projected high around 68 degrees. Winds are currently coming from the northwest. However, in the early afternoon, we can anticipate a slight shift to a more westerly direction before they ultimately swing back to a northwesterly heading, reminiscent of our current observations. And looking at our current surface analysis chart, we can see the two low pressure systems mentioned yesterday are lingering in the northeast, creating wet weather for that region. Meanwhile, in the mid-Atlantic, high pressure is building in behind these systems and their associated fronts, which should lead to a much more enjoyable day, especially as we move through the holiday weekend. Today's temperatures are projected to be slightly lower than average due to cooler northern air being funneled into the region, and that is as a result of our lows up north and the high pressure out to our west. However, overall, largely fair weather should dominate for the next couple of days. Now moving on to our current observations, we are sitting under an overcast layer at 12,000 feet and a scattered deck at 8,000 feet. And that is with 6+ miles of visibility, and winds are observed out of the northwest at roughly 4 knots. And as for the temperature, we currently sit at 58 degrees with relative humidity just below 80%. Taking a glance at this morning's satellite imagery, our overcast layer around 10,000 feet, I believe 12,000 from the last slide, does become apparent. However, the overall progression would suggest that this coverage is decreasing and will continue to do so, giving way to some daytime heating, which leads me on to our next point here, taking a look at our HRRR model run of the day. We can see here largely dry weather, however, in the afternoon, the late afternoon, we do see some chances of a shower due to that daytime heating and the instability that may begin to build. Overall, the intensity of these little complexes here do appear to remain rather low, so hopefully we won't have any issues on that front. And taking a look at our 24-hour risk chart for today, we have a largely green board indicating partly cloudy skies throughout the day and into tomorrow morning. Winds will be modest, gusting into the low 20s, but should remain just shy of any advisory criteria set in place. And we have a lone yellow mark for precipitation this afternoon, highlighting those chances of an afternoon shower. Looking at our TAF, cloud coverage is expected to decrease while moving down to lower levels around the 3,000 to 5,000 foot mark before raising midday and ultimately settling back down to that 3,000 foot mark come tomorrow morning. And taking a look at our short-term weather board here, Saturday we can expect mostly sunny skies and breezy conditions with a high around 71, and we have made note of the chance of a possible wind advisory being needed, as some of the models were showing slightly gusty winds approaching those levels. Saturday night, mostly clear with a low of 52 and greens across the board, and Sunday, partly to mostly cloudy with a high of 71 with greens across the board. However, it is worth noting that there might be a very slight chance of an afternoon shower come Sunday. And that is going to conclude our 8:15 daily weather brief, and I will be back at 10 with the 7-day outlook.